My 19F mother, 47F, gets upset with me when I ask about / use my money. My mother has had access to my savings account since I was 13, so she's the one who manages it for me. I haven't removed her from the account because every time I bring it up she gets extremely mad at me, almost irrationally so. Over the summer I was under the impression that I would have to pay for school myself, due to both of my parents saying so to me multiple times. Around the time that things were due I started to get upset because my mother had access to my account but I didn't, even though I was supposed to pay. I had asked if I could see my account and also be put on it so I could check when I wanted to without asking, and told her she could still be on it if she wanted. I didn't care. Immediately after she started yelling at me, saying that she makes so much more money than me so she didn't need to be on my account, and that I'd be broke if she didn't manage it, then hung up on me. My dad called me after and said I need to be gentler on my mom because she's getting older. So to the current issue, a few days ago I finally got my unemployment benefits. It was about $3K, and I was excited because I was living off of $25 a week that my parents would send me. I'm on campus. My dad just told me not to spend it all, but my mother insisted I put it all in my savings. But again, when I brought up me getting access to my savings, she deflected. The first thing I did was buy some things for myself that my parents just wouldn't. I got a few pairs of shoes and some winter clothes, along with eating out a few times. So after 4 days, I had spent about $500. In hindsight I do feel like I overspent, but I don't feel too bad about it because I spent it on things I needed. I also don't have much else to buy, so I was planning on putting $2K in my savings when I could. Then yesterday at 11 AM I get a call from my mother and she's furious. I find out that she's been tracking my spending and is mad that I spent so much money on myself when her and my father have already been spending so much on me, meaning they paid my tuition and gave me money to go out when I visited home for a week. She said that I'll have to pay rent when I'm home from now on. I was extremely tired at the time so I just listened and agreed. A bit later my dad calls and says while he isn't mad at what I spent my money on, he says I could have waited on some things so I didn't spend so fast, and I agree with him. He didn't bring up what my mom said to me, so I'm assuming she didn't really mean it. I have a pretty great relationship with my mom, so whenever she gets like this it always throws me for a loop. She's usually pretty laid back and strict when necessary. I want to know if I'm thinking too hard or if this might be a real issue. I feel bad whenever she says I just spend it all, but I also feel like I'm old enough to at least have a bit of say in my finances. Too long didn't read. My mom gets really mad when I ask about or use the money I've earned. Some of the things she's said are concerning me, but I'm not sure if she's right or being irrational. Edit. Wow. I posted this then went to bed because I didn't think I'd get many responses. I'll try to respond to as many comments as I can. One thing I want to clear up is that I have seen the money in my account once, and it looked like it was the right amount. I'm not 100% sure though. Also I might not have been clear enough, but I do have a separate checking account that only my dad had access to. He sends me money, but normally doesn't check my spending, so I assume my mom was asking him to check. The way your mom is acting isn't normal. I'm more inclined to believe she is using your money for her own wants. Your parents seem to believe your money is theirs. This is wrong, and I dealt with this myself from my own mother. You need to distance yourself financially so you can be your own person. How you navigate this is tough but quite simple. First, go open a bank account of your own with a different bank. Do not tell your parents about this account under any circumstances. If possible, have the bank send the paperwork to your school when you open the account. Then go online and turn on paperless billing. If you can't send mail your school, then go buy a PO box for a year to receive mail for the account. You need a mailbox to receive the debit card and some other things like the initial checkbook. After you set up your separate bank account, put your parents on a limited information diet. Do not tell them about any money you make. Deposit the money into your own account without a word to them. Now you will have to keep this on the down low because your parents are paying for your college. Your mom has already come up with a plan to steal your money from you with this rent idea. When she presses that you should keep pressing about the savings account, since she manages that it should be easier for her to pull from there, right? Truth be told, I will surprised if she hasn't already spent your savings with how she's acting. And BTW, if that savings account is yours, you can call the bank and inquire about it. But it sounds like it isn't yours after all. This is really toxic and controlling of your mother. Is it actually your account? Because if it is, you should be able to go into the bank yourself, get your own information and start a fresh account to move your money into that your mother doesn't have access to. Aside from her possibly using the money in your savings or just enjoying controlling you in what little ways she has left, I can't think of any other reason she'd get so angry that you want control over your own money. I see this over and over and over. Get your own account. Stop putting money into that account that your mother controls. Assume all the money in that account is gone once you do this. So sorry Op, your mother is a controlling abuser. Op needs her own account at a different bank. If you have names on 2 bank accounts at the same bank, who knows what her mom could persuade them with. I've seen it posted on here before. This may seem like a harsh question, but is there any chance she might have used / is using your money and trying to cover it up perhaps? Because getting that angry about you asking to be added is suspicious. Also, if it is your account, you should be able to go to the bank and access it without her permission. That money's 100% gone or near gone. Demand to see the balance ASAP. It's your money, and you're an adult. She might lose her education doing that. Her exit strategy needs to be tailored to her situation. My SIL, 28F, is constantly in competition with me, 24F, and this time it's gone too far. What should I do? So a little background, my husband and I have been married for 4 years, together for 8. I've also known Sil for 8. We had our first child right out of high school and now have 3 kids together, 4, 5, and 1. Sil is a few years older, so she was having kids at the same time we were, and all of our children are around the same age, which is great because they have awesome relationships. We always had a pretty good relationship for the most part. We bonded over many shared interests and motherhood as our kiddos were young, and I never thought anything was amiss. Fast forward to a little over a year ago, things started to get a little weird. It seemed like anytime my kids made an accomplishment of some sort, she was mad about it if he kids weren't already doing it. Right before I had my daughter, I was potty training our then 2.5-year-old. Her 3-year-old was not yet trained, and she kept telling me there's no way he will be able to at 2.5, they usually aren't ready, but I had done it with my older son at that age and it worked great. My middle son did just fine and she hated it. I could tell because she would constantly ask if he was regressing. Besides our kids, she started doing this with other things too. She would be sure to mention if her husband got a raise, if they got something new, if they were going somewhere, etc. At this point I had kind of stopped talking to her a lot because it was always, we're doing this, we got this, just constantly throwing stuff around, and then she would ask intrusive questions about our lives for comparison. I always let this stuff roll off my back when we did talk, because besides this we get along well and I didn't want to cause issues. Tried my best to never play into it and just keep it surface level. Plus we live very close in a small town, so it's not like I can really get away. Also our family does get-togethers weekly. That's just a few examples of the many things, and for the sake of length I'll skip to what's happening now. About a year ago I became seriously interested in photography and pursuing it as a career. My husband was doing well at work, so I was able to quit my part-time after having our daughter and be a stay-at-home mom and ponder my dream a little more. About 6 months ago I got serious and invested in the proper gear. After many free shoots and lots of practice, things just kind of randomly took off. 5 months ago I registered as an official business and started getting pretty busy, and it's been amazing. I have a true passion for it and I love it so much. On our yearly family cabin vacation about 3 weeks ago, Sil asked if I had anyone who would be working weddings with me. I'm starting to book them for 2021. I told her not yet, as I'm still working on networking with others in the industry and sharing shadowing weddings for another month. She joked that making a little cash here and there second shooting with me would be fun, and I laughed along and, not wanting to be rude, said yeah, that could be fun. She started asking me lots of questions about cameras and how much they are. A good starter camera will run about $1,000, so I told her, if you're serious, you can use my second camera to get practice in and see if it's something you like. I didn't hear from her for a few days and then saw she had went and gotten herself a camera and a few lenses. She began asking me lots of questions about settings and editing, to which I gave her lots of advice and I helped her a little with getting to know her camera. She said on multiple occasions she would never do this as a business and it's just for fun and maybe doing weddings with me. Fast forward to this morning, she had posted on her FB about how she may be looking to run mini sessions soon and was putting out feelers to see if anyone was interested. This is when I started to get a little upset. Reddit, I know many people do the same things and I'm by no means saying I'm the only photographer allowed here. Just feels like every time I get a little successful at something, she loves to try and take it from me. And I feel like this could get weird with family too. They will all feel super conflicted about who to go to. Not to mention she just got her camera and with little experience wants to charge people money. I guess my question is, how do I even go about handling this? I would be lying if I said I didn't feel like she is overstepping. Things are going to be super weird now and I know I cannot control what she chooses to do, but how do I not build up resentment about this? She has a tendency to play the victim role too, so I know if I said anything it might not end well. I feel like things were just getting better too. What would you do? Too long didn't read. I have a mildly successful photography business. Sil is starting one now too. She may take your equipment, she may even start her own business, but if you're passionate and good at what you do, you will outshine her. Work hard and stay focused on your success. People like her will wear themselves out. Take the high road. Instead of telling her the answers to all her questions, guide her to the answers. And whatever you do, don't associate yourself professionally with her. She's a separate person. If she asks to work with you, tell her that you don't know too much to guide her well and she's better off getting a mentor. Truly love it, and I think that's why this hurts so much. I have spent the last 3 years digging into myself trying to figure out what it is I'm good at and where I should be, and she knows how important it is to me. That's what bothers me the most. I don't believe she's in it for the right reason. That's great advice. I honestly would have never thought to point her to someone else's direction. Thanks. Don't give in to her. You know your abilities and your client base, and that's it. Part of why she does what she does is to get a rise out of you in a negative way, so give her all the positivity she wants. She's now starting a photography business too. Great. You're so happy for her. Her husband got a raise. That's amazing. But that's it. One comment and you drop it and continue on with your life. Don't worry, she doesn't want to be a photographer and she'll get bored quickly. What sucks is that in all honesty I just want to have a good relationship with her, but she just wants to one-up everything I do for some reason. I'll be doing just that from now on. Thanks. You can't sustain a business with the intention to one-up others. You don't need to do anything, it's bound to fail. All you need to do is wait and see. My advice is to stop helping her one-up you. Don't give her anything. Don't give her photography advice. Don't let her use your stuff. Don't let her anywhere near one of your jobs. When she says they bought some new thing, or went somewhere cool, or got a raise, reply in the most bland but nice way possible. When she asks you off-topic questions to figure out how she should next copy you, give her boring non-responses. Just stop feeding into it and let the rest go, because what a bite a day I fucked up a life it is to be like her. Should I 27M protect my grieving colleague 27F, who just lost her mother after she made a mistake at work? My colleague, Lucy, and I are manager in training. We are responsible for a team of programmers. Our current workflow is that the team completes a task. I would check through their work, then Lucy double confirms it before submitting it to another department. Lucy is the final check because she's more experienced than me. This entire week, Lucy has been on leave as her mother fell ill. Unfortunately, word just came out that her mother passed away days ago. On Friday, the other department called me. Usually they would call Lucy, but again she's on leave. They were in the midst of integration when they realized they were seeing far too many bugs in the project build. I was confused as I had personally checked and ensured these bugs were fixed. When I headed to the other department, I realized they were integrating an old build v5.0. However, I was adamant that the version I passed to Lucy was v5.1. I do not even have v5.0 on my PC anymore, so I couldn't possibly have passed it to Lucy. I logged into Lucy's PC and checked. We can use each other's PC on a need-to basis. It turns out she had both v5.0 and v5.1 on the same folder, something she's not supposed to do. Chances was that she had sent the wrong version to the other department. The other department do not use the same version control as us, so they couldn't possibly have known they should be using v5.1 instead of v5.0. As said, Lucy's role as the final check is to ensure the other team receives the proper version from our department. The other department stayed 3 hours overtime to patch and reintegrate the correct version v5.1. To sum things up, they are pissed off as hell and they intend to escalate this matter. They do not yet know it was Lucy who made the mistake. Should I protect Lucy? I cannot possibly throw anyone else under the bus, so the only thing I can do is to lie that I sent Lucy the wrong version. Doing so would obviously have nasty repercussions for me. On the other hand, Lucy has been through a lot, and being told that she's responsible for this mess is going to hurt her even more. Is there any way I can spin this in a way that doesn't point blame to anyone? Too long didn't read. Lucy is the most experienced programmer in my department, and thus she is the final check for builds we send to another department. She recently made a terrible mistake and sent the wrong build to another department. The entire other department spent 3 hours overtime fixing her mistake and intend to escalate this matter, but they do not yet know Lucy is the one responsible. Lucy's mother recently passed away and she's in depression. I do not want to add to her sorrow, but I can see no way of averting it unless I lie and take the fall for her.